This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and On the Road, Tim Dahl, episode number 145. Where the heck are you, Timothy?
We played in San Antonio last night, and it's one of those things. It's like when you play.
Wait. We who?
Me, Weasel Walter, Rick I, who was the promoter, and he's a musician, but of the festival we played in Denton just a few days ago. Let's see, me, Weasel Walter, Gina Bootleg, and Rick I. So it's a trio of insanity, or trio, quartet. See, that shows where my brain is. Quartet of insanity. And so, yes, for the listeners who didn't know, Lydia Retrovirus was on tour, 3-day tour of Texas last week. And I'm still here.
With a lot of fun.
A ton of fun. Texas is really fun. It has its clear problems, but every place does. And I had a great time. Absolutely.
And as usual, I'm always having a great time. So I got some interesting information. And what's weird is I think you were already out of the van on your way to your other shows when this conversation about aliens came up. My version is people always think they assume they put like human characteristics to aliens. I always thought octopus, viruses, bacteria, and jellyfish might be the real aliens. And the reason I think viruses are the real aliens is they come from God knows where, goddess knows not, the devil certainly does. They invade you, they can kill you, they're very intelligent, they transmute, you can't see them. Who said that an alien might be visible? Anyway, new research by computer scientist Andrew Adamatsky at the Unconventional Computing Laboratory of the University of West of England. I already love the sound of that university. Suggests that mushrooms have an electrical language all of their own, far more complicated than anyone previously thought. And according to the study, they might even use words to form sentences to communicate with neighbors. So,
wait, what does that mean?
I'm going to tell you.
All right.
So almost all communication within and between multicellular animals, it involves highly specialized nerves, and the nerves transmit messages from one part of the organism to another via the nervous system. So the language of the nervous system comprises distinctive patterns or spikes of electrical impulses, which help creatures detect and respond to what's going on in their environment. So despite lacking a nervous system, mushrooms, possible aliens, and other fungus seem to transmit information using electrical impulses across really fine thread-like filaments called hyphae, which form a thin web called mycelium that links one fungal colony within the soil to another. So these networks are pretty similar to animal nervous systems. And the scientists, by measuring the frequency and intensity of the impulses, said they're working on a way to try to understand the languages that are used to communicate. Using tiny electrodes, Adamatsky, it sounds like Adam Antsky.
It sounds like, no.
Recorded the rhythmic electrical impulses transmitted across 4 different species of fungi. And he found that the impulses varied by amplitude, frequency, and duration, which is incredible. And he drew a mathematical comparison between the patterns of these impulses with those more typically associated with human speech. And he suggests that from the basis of his investigation, fungal language could comprise up to 50 words organized into sentences. Okay, now, I'm loving it. So the complexity of the languages used by the different species of fungi appeared to also differ, with the split gill fungus, I love the name of this one, Schizophyllum commune, using the most complicated lexicon of those tested. The same way when I often talk and nobody understands what the fuck I'm saying. So this raises the possibility that mushrooms and other fungus may have their own electrical languages, and they can share information about food and resources or potential sources of danger and damage between themselves, or even with more distantly connected partners. And this isn't the first evidence. I mean, for a while, I think it was in the 70s, like the secret language of plants. Well, mycorrhizal fungi, the nearly invisible thread-like fungi that form intricate partnerships with plant roots, they have extensive networks in the soil that connect also to other plants. So experiments using plants connected only by this type of fungus have shown that one plant within the network, if it's attacked, insects, the defense responses of neighboring plants activate too. So warning signals are transmitted. And also, I mean, it's other research has shown that plants can transmit more than just information. Like some plants can, including trees, can transfer carbon-based compounds and sugars.
It gets so insane. When I was in Florida in Captiva just a couple months ago, the whole mangrove system, I mean, the whole forest is basically communicating, connected. It's so fucking insane.
Well, but, also, you know, one of my favorite subjects is, you know, bacteria in and around the fungal hyphae can also change the composition of their communities or function in response to changing the root. I try to change my community surrounding me all the time into being better than what they fucking are. Anyway.
So if there's one mushroom that's a bummer, and it's not a quote unquote fun guy.
Don't name names. Don't name names.
If one of them's not a fun guy, I guess, yeah.
Anyway,
communicate and say, hey, you know, let's make this better, man.
I always say cook the bummer.
There you go.
Anyway, anyway, let me just finish this. So these results could represent the first insights into fungal intelligence and even, dare I say, consciousness. Though
what?
Yes, though it would seem to exist on a time scale or frequency and magnitudes not easily perceived by us dumbass mortal humans. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited.
Well, I mean, can a mushroom count or
does it need to
recite the alphabet? I don't know.
Hey, right, but you know what? Can a mathematician alleviate your depression like psilocybins?
Oh, now we're talking. Wait, you know the biggest living thing on Earth. It's a mushroom in Michigan. Basically, it's like 30 miles or something. It's like one living thing. It's fucking insane.
Well, and I wonder what it's trying to tell us, but we're just too dumb to figure it out.
Yes.
Right.
Speaking, since I'm in Texas, I did this drive last night from San Antonio back to Denton, the I-35. A great-grandmother, 72, pretty young great-grandmother, but okay. Charlene Hernandez was just going to a Shell station, and she wanted a Diet Coke. And some man
dangerous enough on its own, a Diet Coke.
There you go. Some man started to assault her in the intention to carjack her, and she resisted, and then he starts like pounding on her and beating her up pretty badly. She was like hospitalized, and people came to her defense, but the guy managed to just get in that car and run off or drive off, I should say. Well, if you do believe in karma, a couple hours later, car great grandma, actually, that's what we're talking about here.
Karma granny.
Anyhow, yes. The I-35, which we were on just a couple days ago together. The car was found just completely destroyed, and the man was dead. He just wiped out and crashed the car and died. So
good for him. Well, it kind of reminds me, I mean, we saw the last song of Witch Crier in San Antonio, that song, which is called Nemesis, I do recommend it to any witch criers out there, which was like a slow metal melodic song about female retribution against male antagonizers. It's very good. Nemesis by Witch Crier. Shout out to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were great. They were great. The whole band was great.
All right. So Tim, you know, I've lived in many of the most polluted possibilities in this country as some kind of magnetic impulse that I have. So, and I lived quite near Emeryville. I lived in Richmond, California, outside of Berkeley. So in 2004, Emeryville, which was just simply a disgusting industrial suburb of San Francisco, sent an environmental remediation crew to inject 15,000 gallons of cottage cheese into groundwater below an abandoned factory. And the factory had been manufacturing car bumpers from 1951 to 67. And, you know, the hex, it's called hexavalent chromium that it left behind, of course, traveled now into the groundwater. So hexavalent chromium gives humans cancer, but trivalent chromium doesn't. And cottage cheese actually converts the former to the latter. Simple solution to a complex problem.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, America, this is another one of my favorite subjects. 40,000 Superfund sites. Look it up, people. 1,344 sites on the national priority list, meaning cancer is pretty much the American way of death. New Jersey has 113 high priority sites, California 97, Pennsylvania 95, New York 85, Michigan 65, North Dakota 0. Good luck moving there, asshole.
Well, yes, a lot of danger in America.
Oh yeah, breathe, eat, sleep. Your possible trouble lurks behind every corner.
Well,
I love it.
Orsolia Gale of Queens, Forest Hills, very nice neighborhood. If you haven't been,
Never.
They found her corpse, stabbed 60 times and stuffed in a hockey bag. And it's a fairly affluent neighborhood. And her banker husband, they pressed him on questions. There are surveillance cameras. He's not as well. Maybe I don't want to speak too soon, but as of now, he's not a suspect. Supposedly, she was stabbed to death in the basement and then dragged
in a duffel bag.
Yeah, and then dumped in woods, like just down the road, basically. But the killer got her cell phone, and he texted the husband and said, "Your wife sent me to jail years ago.
Oh, jeez.
Your whole family is next."
Terrifaction.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I guess he was a lawyer. I don't know what that means, but because I was looking in the article and I didn't say how she sent it. Yeah.
Terrifying, because it is usually, you look for the nearest person, according to my forensic studies. But I mean, sending a text message that your whole family is next, terrifying.
I mean, serial killers are known to do that kind of stuff, to send family members like for the rest of their lives after they kill people. It's part of the boner they get, I think. I don't. That's assuming this person's a serial killer, but yeah.
So I was very excited to see this little news clip today that the Cycle Alliance, and look it up, the Brooklyn Public Library. The Cycle Alliance is a pro-period advocacy campaign for teens of all genders, and you can become a Cycle ally. So what they do is, and it's a bunch of teenagers that started this, and their values are menstrual equality for all who menstruate, which includes cis women, trans men, gender nonconforming people.
Whoa.
Periods are a natural and biological event and are not shameful. Hashtag no period shaming. Every menstruator should have access to menstrual hygiene products. They want continued funding for free menstrual products in New York prisons, homeless shelters, middle schools, and high schools. They want mandatory, accurate, bipartisan, and up-to-date sex ed curriculum in schools that destigmatize menstruation. They want the continued repeal of the tampon tax in New York. They are promoting to avoid superstitions, hurtful, sexist, anti-women, homophobic, and transphobic language when talking about periods or anything. And their whole goal is to teach, not cancel people who just don't get it by using facts. And this is started by a bunch of teenagers. The Brooklyn Public Library has information. I just think it's such a worthy cause. It's so grand.
That's a great period piece.
It's a great period piece.
Well, so I guess the mandate on masks for public transportation, airplanes, has been lifted.
Oh, it was lifted. It was lifted while I was on a flight coming back. Fortunately, no one removed their masks.
Well, this was lifted by the ruling was made by District Judge Catherine Mizell, who was appointed under Trump in Florida, claiming that it's constitutionally not correct for the CDC's public transportation department to enforce these mandates. And I guess the Biden administration is looking into it, but I'm not in New York yet until Monday, but the rates are really going up there. I mean, it's at 5% today, so it's creeping back up again. So I don't know. I guess COVID fatigue is what people are experiencing, and they just want to get it.
I love masks of all kinds, full facial, any kind of mask. I'm still masking up. I'm tested negative today. I'm going to keep testing, I guess, for the rest of my life and hopefully be negative for the rest of my life. Now, here's another positive piece of information that I'd like to close out with.
Yes.
Before we bring on our guest, Shilpa Ray, a composer, musician, vocalist, pretty badass radical gal. And this was very exciting. I don't know if you saw this today, Simon, but today I saw, and you can look it up, Democratic Michigan Senator Valerie McMorrow, who I'd never heard about, but she's going viral, addressed the state Senate in response to an unproven allegation that she wants to, quote, groom and sexualize kindergartners. Now, this accusation was made in a fundraising email earlier this week by Republican state idiot Lana Thies, who stupidly claimed, quote, these are the people we are up against. Progressive social media trolls like Senator Mallory McMorrow, Democratic snowflake, who are outraged they can't teach and can't groom and can't sexualize kindergartners, or that 8-year-olds are responsible for slavery. Now, her response, Senator Mallory McMorrow of Michigan, was one of the most level-headed responses to such bullshit. And I'm happy to say it's gone viral in her address. We will not let hate win. Anyway, somebody that has no bullshit and that has very activist lyrics is our next guest. This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and Shilpa Ray. This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and our special guest. I don't know how we haven't met before, Shilpa Ray. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Perfect as always. I think you are too. Usually that ends every conversation. I hope it's just the beginning of this one, though.
Oh yeah, of course. No, it's been a trying week. I don't know. There's something in the universe.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not working. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
Been a lot of solar flares. Barometric pressure is weird, and yeah, I'm not going to blame the Russians this time. Forget about it. I've had my phone mysteriously go on airplane mode. I've had emails just stop doing anything. Whatever. We're here now. You've been on tour. You have a little break on your. How's the tour going?
It's interesting. It's interesting.
What does that mean?
It's a whole other game touring.
Oh, that yeah.
Post-COVID, it really is. I mean,
where have you been?
We went on the West Coast, and of course, we had a bunch of rescheduled dates because people get sick. It's this whole other force you have to contend with, as if touring wasn't hard enough.
But isn't it also just the kind of just getting the brain back into the mode, just that alone, besides all the extras, all the new protocols, just going through the motions again seems a little harder. There's like atrophy or something going on.
It is.
I'll speak for yourself there, Timmy. Tie him up. I have
You're a warrior.
no atrophy, no COVID, negative since 77. On it goes. So should make that t-shirt, really should. Now it is, we're lucky because we haven't had any shows canceled, and I was in Europe for 6 weeks in October, perfectly fine, came back 2 weeks on the West Coast, but it's not ending.
No, it's not ending. There seems to be still like issues coming up for sure. It's just another hurdle to get over, and they definitely don't pull your expenses down when you're in China.
Were you working on your new album, which is it already out now, your new album?
It's going to be out on April 29th.
The name of it is?
Portrait of a Lady.
And that is a little bit sarcastic.
Yeah, of
course. Were you working on that during the lockdown?
We were mixing during the lockdown, which was also a pain in the ass because it was me and my co-producer mixing remote, and I've never had to do that. I've always been in the room, and that was driving me crazy. And it was also driving him crazy because I would just start calling him at 4 a.m. and be like, that thing that you did? Can you take it out? I don't want it anymore.
You can always call me at 4 a.m. I'll be up. I can't say
I will call you at 4 a.m, Lydia.
Well,
I will.
if I am by chance asleep, my phone is off anyway. That doesn't really matter. So your new album is coming out. What I want to say about it is I consider myself a musical schizophrenic, but this album is musically schizophrenic. It really is. It's very diverse. I mean, you are. Is there any genre you're not covering on this album?
Oh wow! I never had a take like that on it. There's a
Well,
few. There's no country western happening. I don't think. There's
Maybe
no
maybe
hip
maybe,
hop.
ly-
There's no
maybe
hip hop.
lyrically. I mean, when I hear, are you a Billie Holiday fan?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
totally.
mean, I was hearing that. I wasn't so familiar with her work. But I was checking it out. Of course, I hear all the arrangements that are made that are obviously. Whoa! Did I just go down?
I wish you were going down where it counts right
Oh,
now, honey bunny, but you're just in the other room. That might happen later. I'm not sure.
what happened here?
No, you
I
sound
can hear
fine.
you.
Sound fine to me.
All right. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So and where some of the titles are there puns in there? I'm trying to. I'm like there's all these
Un-
references, or am I overlooking this?
Understatement.
And
Puns?
no dad puns in there.
No.
I mean, it's portrait of a lady's had a reference to Portrait of Tracy by Giacomo Astorius.
No, actually, it is a very sarcastic take on the
Okay.
Henry James novel Portrait of a Lady, but
mm.
painting it in modern times where it's
Sure.
just not, we're not wearing bustles and stuff anymore.
Did you ever take music lessons growing up?
Yeah, I did.
Piano,
I grew up-
voice,
yeah, both.
both. Okay. And
Harmonium, self-taught, or lessons?
No,
in piano?
harmonium came with the voice lessons, so that was something that had to come hand in hand. I hated all of it. I was a terrible student. I just wasn't like able to be that disciplined about it until I heard music I really liked, and that's
right,
when
that makes sense.
What do you what? Okay, so at what age? Because you started very young taking these lessons, like 6 or something. You started playing the piano, but at what age did you actually hear music that you liked, and what was that music?
Like around 12, 13. And the first band that really made me want to be a musician was the Velvet Underground. And I know this is the curse that happens to a lot of people that listen to the Velvet Underground for the first time, but it really was that. I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of American music growing up. So I used to sneak off into the library and
You were the stealth goth, as you called yourself.
yeah. I was. Oh my God. I looked like a crazy person. It was fun. We had fun.
Wait, excuse me, honey. You look. I still look like a crazy person. I am a crazy person.
That's the pot calling the kettle black, and I take it as a compliment.
So what does that mean? You weren't allowed to listen to American music? I mean, if you grow up in America, you're bombarded by just all media. You know, they're trying to sell you something at every corner. So, what your family, your parents were saying, they really went out of their way
don't
to
listen to pop radio. There was no MTV after a certain age. You know, all that stuff was banned, and we just had.
What was the reason?
They thought it would keep us disciplined, and I'm first generation, so my parents are from India. And they had this mentality that they wanted to retain so much of the original culture.
Okay.
And it just never works. I mean, it just doesn't.
Right,
and
it's impossible.
Everyone has that hope, but it doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, once you're born and raised here, I mean, I'm an American. I consider myself that. My heritage is Indian, and I respect that, and I am interested in it, but I didn't grow up there. I didn't pay taxes there. I didn't go to school there. So I'm not Indian in that sense.
And what parents have to realize is no matter what they are, for instance, even if they're really cool, their kids might be Republicans. If they're strict, forget it. We're going in the opposite direction. That's just what happens.
Are your parents Republicans?
My dad was a Republican for a long time. I don't think he has a party affiliation anymore.
Right.
But that's very common among.
That's very common in Indian. Out of all the immigrants or the newer generation of immigrants over the last 50 years, that's the highest demographic of Republicans.
It's
Asian
all
Indians.
fiscal too. They don't like sharing money, so that's how it comes about for sure. They're
So did you ever challenge your parents and say, "Well, you've abandoned India for better or for worse. Doesn't mean you've abandoned the culture."
Do I challenge my parents?
So why are they demanding that you somehow sustain the heritage?
I can only envision the challenges.
My favorite encounter with my parents was when I was about to get suspended from school when I was in high school. This was in the 90s.
When you were how old?
And they had no idea. I was 15 years old.
That's when I dropped out. Go ahead.
Okay.
I get you, sister.
I was dressed in like black lipstick with my hair out to God knows where with safety pins and through my nails. Like I had this crazy getup that they never knew about because he would always go to work earlier, and then I would get dressed up
Ah,
for school.
sneaky.
The
And
stealth goth.
they actually came to school because the guidance counselor was like, your daughter has not been attending school. You need to come in. And they came in, they saw me like that. And I mean the shock. I don't think they're still over it, even though, you know, I'm much older now and so are they. But I think after a while they started to embrace little parts of my creativity.
Well, and you know, I really don't give a shit what parents think, because basically they did their job. They were the vehicle for our existence, and you know, fuck you for your fucking opinions or attitudes. I really don't. I don't care.
I mean, I'm definitely too old to care about what my parents think. I think actually they're too old to care about what I'm doing right now too. But that's nice that we have that understanding at this point. Like,
So take me to the timeline of this, because how much earlier were they going to work? Because if you're in a real goth groofy preparation, it takes a long fucking time. So I mean,
I'm brown, so covering this.
So I mean, how long was the procedure? And so was it as soon as they were out the door, you're like leaping out of bed and like running to the mirror? Is that what was going on?
Yes, that's what was going on.
And then after school, where was the teardown? Like where?
They were still at work. See, I had time. I had a key to the house. I went in and I had to clean.
Wash
it all
the
up
face.
and then-
Wash the face.
Yeah.
Did you have any boys that like kind of had a crush on you and they kind of knocked on your door and then your homebody look and they're like, "What's this?" And I mean, like, so was
I definitely had some dudes being like, "This is you," without, you know, any makeup or anything on. Yeah, that's
Which do they prefer? And you know what? Which do you prefer for what they prefer? Hello, I think it's your choice.
I don't know, man. I don't understand. I don't understand guys.
I
still don't
see.
understand guys.
I see. Nice. I see in your future an
Wait.
an English farce with like lots of doors, and then like you have two characters and you're running in and out of the room and you're trying to play both of them at the same time.
Let's get to the real
That's
issue.
the part
How
I've been
many?
living, like all week.
Let's get to the real issue. How many girls had a crush on you?
Woo.
Lots.
There you go.
I don't swing that way, unfortunately, but I wish I did. I'd have a way better social calendar.
Now, wow.
I do get more
Well,
girls.
you know, honey, I have to make this as my only advice. It's like, yeah, all of these new definitions, I do prefer somebody who does not define just by what dangles between their legs.
That's true. Yeah,
Well,
I agree with that.
And as Beethoven, go ahead. As Beethoven said, his greatest advice was never take advice.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Hey, sometimes you got to hang with the dingle dangle, and other times it's just like, get that thing out of my motherfucking face. All I'm saying. Sometimes.
And then also, sometimes you have to take the Beethoven angle. Beethoven was arrested twice for being a peeping Tom. I swear.
Get out.
What they don't teach you in history. Yes,
They
he was a
don't teach
peeping Tom.
anything in history.
Yeah.
Shilpa, I know we're neighbors. We'll talk about that later. Nobody needs to know where we really live, but you know, I have a set of binoculars on my windowsill at all times. And by the way, I have never
Is
been
that the way
arrested.
of asking me out on a date, Lydia?
Honey,
What we're doing?
that my door is open for you, baby. If you are brave enough to walk in, open arms, honey bunny.
But what about like a room? What was it? A room with a view or whatever?
What about a room with a view? Hello.
No, an English farce from a voyeuristic perspective, like looking through the binoculars and you're walking into an apartment with lots of doors.
With, James Stewart.
Yeah, that's a rear window meets an
yeah.
English comedy farce. Yeah. Anyway.
Tim Dell, I'm going to come in there and open your rear window in a minute. I don't know what you're jacked up on. But let's
You're
get
gonna
back.
have to pass
Oh my God.
the backyard cat first.
Oh my
There's a tough
Back-
backyard cat, and he's gonna scratch you up if you try.
Excuse me.
Oh,
I got
no.
I got 4 backyard cats. I don't know if that's a metaphor, but I'm loving it.
Well, you can meet me at Katz's Deli instead.
Well, I'm kind of a backdoor.
Roar.
I'm kind of a backdoor cat myself.
That's the word on the street. That's the word on the street. All right. All right.
Can we get back to the freaking
All
music?
right, let's go back. So
is
you're
the
in
most
Williamsburg.
It's a lot of fun. I don't mind this.
This is the most absurd, and I love it. I think podcast we've yet to do, and we need a little light relief right now.
Yeah, it's been a heavy week, and now we're just like getting it out of our system.
Having fun.
So let's go back 18 years. Okay, so you're in you're in Williamsburg or you're in Brooklyn. I don't know. You know, you have the whole 2000 zeros of the culture, for better or for worse, is transferred from the Manhattan thing to the Brooklyn scene, and you kind of are in bands, right? And you're kind of working your way up and kind of poking around and making your mark. So talk about that a little bit. Just in terms of,
Even before that, can you tell me what you dropped out of uni in Philly because you didn't want to study that, and then you decided to go to New York?
I didn't drop out of school. I actually just got my credits really fast and left.
Okay,
So
but
I
did
just
you
kind of finished everything very
Okay.
quickly, and I just went to New York after that.
as you
But I didn't drop out of college though.
Okay,
I finished.
you are.
are you saying that
You
because your
are-
parents are going to be listening? Is that what's?
I did. I handed my degree to my parents, and I was like, "I'll see you."
What was your degree in? What was your degree in?
Oh God! So
This is what I want to know. Yeah,
Doesn't
I was
matter.
originally an
it does matter to
engineering
me as an
Alright.
as a dropout. It matters.
Fair.
Well, I was originally an engineering major to make my dad happy, and then I
Ooh.
realized I was gonna fail. I was gonna fail. I mean, I was
Not
gonna
easy.
fail. So I
Not
was like,
easy.
what kind of BS can I study and still do as much drugs and partying as I was doing? And I was a marketing communications major. But
You know
that
what?
still seemed legit in their eyes because I could run a business technically.
Ah, well
Now,
done.
if
They were like,
only-
and I could
right.
write. So I was like, I can write stuff and I
That's-
can learn about consumer behavior.
If only we really cared about fucking jobs instead of, the lack of marketing that anybody has to apply to our musicians.
No, but
Yeah,
did that
it
benefit
kicks in
you?
sometimes, trust me.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, it seems like you have your career going a little bit here, and it seems like how could that not have some kind of impact in terms of, even if it's not conscious, like
Yeah.
I mean, you had to have learned something.
I
from-
learned a lot actually, and it does apply to a lot of music stuff too. And one of the greatest things about it is you can kind of find your threshold, like where
What do you
people
mean?
will push you in directions that you don't want to go into, and you can actually say, you know what, I can make money this way instead. I don't have to do what you're asking me to do. That's how I look at it. It's like I
Okay.
can retain my own thing. I don't have to compromise my art because I know what I need to do in order to sell it, in order to break even, without outside people telling me what the right way is.
That's what people really don't understand about people that work in music like us, is it is a constant, no matter how long we are on the outside, no matter what the press is, we still have to be disciplined and try to figure out how to even keep our fucking chin above the gutter to carry on. People just don't realize. They think, oh, well, you've had so much press, you must be rich.
Especially if you're sticking to your own guns. Like if you compromise and you want to do what's trendy, that's one thing, but I never wanted to do that.
Well, and excuse me, honey, wait a minute. You can probably do, and you do so many different kinds of music, but really trendy? How do you, people always say, why didn't you sell out? I'm like, what am I going to sell? I'd love to sell up. What am I going to freaking sell? And by the way, probably the issue is the same with you at one point. They look in my eyes, they know I'm not going to buy their bullshit. I have a feeling they might have the same sentiment to you. She ain't going to buy the bullshit.
No.
I mean, do you consider yourself outside? Do you consider yourself, your music and outside? You do? Okay,
If I was
all
on the
right.
inside, nobody told me. I didn't get my invite.
Going back to Velvet Underground, like you're in the library, and what was it about? I mean, did someone tell you about Velvet Underground, or were you just like attracted to that? I mean, did this just land on your lap and you're like, I like this, or did you have any historical perspective?
I was reading a lot of books about the Doors when I was in middle school, and the Velvet Underground kept coming up in the biographies, so I knew the name. And then I remember seeing the Warhol cover with the banana, and I just thought it was really cool. I just liked the artwork, and I gave it a try. And then I never went back. And then that was it for me.
You were musically perverted from then on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, and the thing is, at 12 or 13, it is 14, when people come into music or literature, that is going to impact them and not influence them to do what they should be doing. Also, what books were you reading at the same time? So, and what did the Velvet Underground lead to? And also, what books were you reading at that time?
I was reading a lot of I like beat stuff. I liked Burroughs a lot when I was a teenager. I think I went through like that same trajectory a lot of people went through at the time. I liked Kerouac a lot. I actually went to City Lights when I was in San Francisco recently and picked up some of those pocket series poetry books, which I loved when I was a teenager because they were so small and you could just open it up, read something. I was also telling someone recently that I don't really like large novels. I like fast reads. I like to sit and read for like something I can finish in a day or two. I don't like stuff that goes on forever. So I've learned that about myself.
I don't read novels. I mean, I read a lot of the people that you named. I read a lot of, also simultaneous to beat writers. I like aphorisms. I like E.M. Siran, the Romanian philosopher. I like reading bite-sized chunks as well.
Yeah.
I don't like to read fiction. I haven't read fiction in a long time.
Have you read Sam Beckett's The Lost Ones? That's about 80 pages. And
Oh, I gotta try that. I like Sam Beckett a lot. So
it's kind of one of these things where like it's a feedback loop of permutations of the same idea. It's painful, but it's 80 pages and you can plow through it.
I quote Beckett all the time. I can't go on. I'll go on. One of my favorite quotes.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister.
And so what was her kind of aesthetic growing up? Was she, did you find your place by being a contrarian, or were you guys kind of parallel?
We had some parallels for sure. She was more into hip hop and R&B than I was.
Okay.
I was a rock and roll chick.
All right.
And she wasn't, but we still laugh a lot.
Did you guys cross over? Like, I kind of like that R&B hip hop song, and she's like, I kind of like that rock one.
Yeah.
You guys kinda, cool.
Yeah,
cool,
we
cool.
did have moments like that for sure. She turned me on to a lot of great hip hop.
Sure. And
I love murder rap. I love a lot of hip hop. So does Tim. I mean,
but also like
often we play it when we're alone together. Like, oh, what about this? I'm like, hey, Scarface, how my homies.
I love hearing it in the car. It's the best driving music. Hip hop is great in the car.
Cheap beat.
That's all about the compression, and the compression works with radio. So it's like you're basically achieving an oboe with a kick drum. You're slicing through everything with a kick drum, which is really insane. So yeah, I mean, in the 90s, of course, I mean, like this is kind of a golden era of like hip hop being globally popular, but also creative. Now it's all stage mom products. Like I'm street yo, like, oh boy.
You're on a little mini pause between the next leg of your tour. I'm going to come and I'm going to have to whack you, Tim, but that's not unusual. You're on a little mini break between the next leg of your tour. And as we were saying earlier, it's kind of weird, but it must be fun to be out there.
It is. It is definitely weird. I guess I'm not used to it because it's been a few years too. But I'm having a good time for the most part. I'm having a good time. If I don't have to stress about certain things, I'm having a good time for sure.
Do you party when you're on the road?
I used to. I don't party as much anymore, which kind of blows. If I'm on someone else's tour, I party a lot.
Right. When you're doing all the logistics, it's different. Right.
Honey, you don't want to get in the retrovirus van because
I had this one moment.
We'll talk about that later.
I was a backing singer for the Bad Seeds, and we were playing in Nashville. And I just remember at one point Nick calling to see if we would come back out again, the backing singers, and we just missed our cue. And of course he like comes in and he has the empty bottle of sour mash whiskey that we were drinking. And yeah, I can party, but only on somebody else's tour. When it's my tour, I'm just like,
oh, well, I've seen Tim Dahl in the back of a van on the floor throbbing in agony. But I have my own bands, and I know what you mean. I mean, with my band Child Abuse, I have to do all the stuff. So it's basically you have to do all the stuff. But it's interesting on your early tours, because we have some mutual friends, Kawabata, Acid Mother's Temple. And I was in Japan a couple of years ago, and I was playing shows with him. I was mostly doing with Tetsuya Yoshida from Ruins, but yeah, connective tissue, as Lydia likes to talk about. But your style is very different than, well, as Mother's Temple kind of changes all the time on the road, in fact, right? I mean, they'll
change their
Yeah.
setup from show to show. But
I mean,
Oh,
we
the-
definitely played stonier. I mean,
Right,
we
right.
understood how to do that. We were like, oh yeah, if you just kind of like lay back on the rhythm a little bit.
well, that's cool that
it'll have that
you bring that
sort
up,
of
because
vibe.
how much does your set change from night to night? Do you actually rearrange things? Do you change tempos? Do you
I used to be way
change
more
keys?
adventurous with the sets for sure.
Okay.
It hasn't been going that way so much in recent times.
And
I
how many
kinda-
how many people are on the road with you right now?
Right now, it's 4 of us all together, and it used to be 5 in the previous lineup. And before, I always used to kind of 4 or 5, and then if I were to play solo, it's just me and another person, maybe.
When you do solo, are you playing? Do you do all the instruments? Do you piano, guitar? I mean, how do
Sometimes
you
I'll
accompany
just sing
yourself?
one because it's easier to travel with one. I feel more free. But yeah, I can switch between harmonium and the keys on the Nord. Or I mean, during the pandemic, I took up playing guitar because I was bored, and I've started to really like it a lot. So I've been kind of busting the guitar out lately, and that's been a lot
Do you
of fun.
do you ever do spoken word, or would you like to?
I should.
I think
I'm
you
not
should,
as, I won't be
honey.
as good as you at it though.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, nobody is, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not-
true.
this
that's
is
true.
not this is not to be comparative. I
No.
teach workshops on how to do it, but you're a natural. I mean, your lyrics are so weird and so good. I really do like them. And
Oh,
of course,
thanks.
lyrics are one thing, but you have, for instance, I was just in Detroit and I performed with Chex Blackmore, who was kicked out of the Satanic Temple for being too politically radical. I'm going to send that to you. It was really good.
Well, here,
But hang on, Tim, I'm not finished. But I always am here cattle prodding more women to get on stage with spoken word. And when I first began doing it, it would be just 10-minute sets, which you can say a lot in 10 minutes. We'll talk more about this after. I'm going to be calling you after this.
well, here's a
podcast.
question.
Yeah, we should talk more.
Here's a
We're
question
gonna-
for both of you. What about the inverse? Have either of you ever done instrumental performances?
I
I
have.
have actually.
All right.
I have. I was invited to do the 24-hour drone fest, and it was all instruments. They were like, "Do not play a single song. No songs allowed." So I had to play a whole hour of just instrumental on the harmonica.
Not just play a single song. Do not play more than one note if it's a drone fest, right?
Or I put some more notes in there.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, Tim. And
my
Shilpa,
drone fest was ADD.
Droney loves Chachi. I get it. All right.
Were
Yeah,
those-
were
those the notes you played? ADD? I wouldn't even know them if I heard them. But however, my one, I've
You are well. There's no H in Western tuning, so I guess it's specifically ADD.
I said ADD. Hang on.
Exactly.
Anyway, I've done a few instrumental performances, but my favorite one was with Connie Burke for our album The Drowning of Lucy Hamilton, where we were in a basement, but the audience was on the first floor, and we were playing, laughing our asses off, 2 guitars, piano, bass, clarinet, and we had somebody walking around taping people going, "Is this the performance? Where are they?" And we were just in the basement laughing hysterically.
Have you ever been attacked? Has anyone ever attacked you, or have you ever attacked an audience member? I
have.
Oh, I know Lydia has. We know that. But have you ever?
I've been in a couple of parking lot fights. I'm not gonna lie.
Whoa,
It
whoa!
seems crazy for me to say this now because I'm not as nuts as I was in my 20s, but
Hey, honey, there's always time to go back to the
I
nut
know.
seat.
I feel like I'm talking to you guys. I'm like, have I lost my mojo? I'm just
No.
so straight and narrow.
That's
now.
not losing your mojo. I mean, in other words, if you
Sophisticating your
well,
mojo.
you obviously touch your fans, but you've ever touched your fans in ways that you didn't expect. In other words, where you got a negative response or
I've definitely gotten booed off a stage a couple of times. I've
Booed off a stage?
I've never been violent. with
What?
any of
Wait,
my
wait.
fans,
Oh, Tim,
so
but
never.
those aren't your
Tim,
fans,
hey,
though.
Tim, quiet down. Booed off the stage? Do tell.
Oh, I've had some episodes for sure. There was this one time I was playing solo and they had me at the end after a band.
Awful.
And I could not follow this. Everybody walked out of the room, and I was like, what is going on? And I got really drunk because I was there like most of the night. And I got drunk and I couldn't see the keys and I couldn't play. So I just started crying.
Is there a recording of this? Is there a recording of this?
I was crying. I just started crying on stage. I couldn't play a note. And people just started booing.
Can you fucking blame them, honey? I mean, really, you should have
smelled the blood. They smelled the blood.
I should have booed myself. I was called. Someone said I sounded like a strangled cat.
Well, wait a second.
We got to get a recording. We got to get a recording of this.
Excuse me, Tim. I've been called that as well in the past. I think we have a lot in common.
I think so too. I love this.
Was that a misinterpretation? I mean,
that's our genre.
You're into Billie Holiday and Elvis Costello. You sure that wasn't just a misinterpretation? Like, you're like a strangled cat, man. Was it like a jazz term?
I wish. I mean, hatred.
What's interesting, Shilpa, is when I do spoken word, I can pull up the alligator tears, which often make other people cry, but I'm not really crying. Know what I'm saying? But I would never.
No, my tears are real. It was really
honey,
crying.
if I would have been in the audience, I would have carried you off and wiped them off. Kissed your little cheeks.
No, it was
and spanked your fucking ass for being so drunk on stage.
Whoa. All right. Going back to 2008.
Reeling myself back in.
I mean,
going back to the 2000s.
I mean, I read a little, well, no, even further back. Let's go back to your groofty days in high school. Were the Jersey Bros, were they bullies? Were they shitheads?
They're horrible. I
can only imagine.
Guys. Screw it.
The girls are a different type of bully. Yeah, you know, like the guys will bully for a little, girls will like bully for like a longer duration. They have a bigger vision, maybe. It's really cruel. Yeah, you're right.
That's for sure.
And so do you have anger towards those years, or you're just kind of like, okay, I'm just tough and I just moved on?
I've just kind of learned to let it roll off my back. I mean, I was never well liked growing up. That was just not my thing. So I just learned how to be by myself a lot.
Yeah, but you don't. Wait, Tim, tie it up to me. You were never well liked then. Can you accept being loved now? That's really a Tim Dahl question, but I thought I'd pull it out of his mouth for a change.
It's hard, isn't it? Because then you just like your own space all the time. I've just gotten used to being alone.
But you're laughing a lot. You're enjoying yourself. So you don't seem like, I mean, maybe it's a front, but it seems like you're at least happy with yourself. That's important.
Yeah, I do like myself. This is
Shilpa, another point we agree on. This is what, loved or loathed, it doesn't matter to me. No one will ever love me as much as I love myself. Why fucking should they? And this is how everyone should feel. So, okay, I was never bullied because I fucking dare you. But also I had the luxury, by the way, of being a teenager during glam. So the weirder you were, the better. And by the way, I have to recommend your song about Johnny Thunders because the New York Dolls are why I ran away to New York at 13.
Wow. Yeah. The Johnny Thunders Fantasy Space Camp. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So let's just talk about that for a minute. And because
talk about self-love. I want to keep on talking about self-love. Well, I want to ask her
if we've established we all love ourselves.
I know, but I wanted to ask you.
Why do you self-love yourself in the kitchen for a minute and put your hand down where it belongs and close that mouth? Let's go back to
I want to know if she likes The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. She's from New Jersey.
No, she doesn't.
Yes. Oranges. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Anyhow, we can talk about Johnny Thunders instead of Whitney Houston. I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead.
I'm gonna go for the duct tape and tie him to the fucking kitchen chair in about 2 seconds.
Oh my God.
Back to the New York Dolls.
All right.
After the Velvet Underground, when did you discover the New York Dolls?
Probably around the same time. It's kind of embarrassing how that happened because do you remember the Guns N' Roses came out with a covers record? Do you remember?
Yeah, Spaghetti Massacre or something like that.
This is how we got exposed as teenagers. Something
not me, but okay. Yes, I know that. Yes.
And then they covered a human being. And I was like, what is this? And then I remember we used to get these little catalogs from like Columbia or BMG. And they would show the album. Again, an album cover got me into the Dolls because I was like, oh.
Who doesn't love a man that looks as good as
what is this? But yeah, it was Guns N' Roses.
Do you like Guns N' Roses at their best? I mean, at their worst, everyone hates them. But at their
Yeah, I
best, do you like
know.
Guns N'
But
Roses?
when they're good, they're good.
Okay, all right,
When
okay.
they're good,
Well,
they're good. When they're bad,
you know,
it's not
I
so
have to.
good.
I have to say, Axl Rose, his little dance just reminds me of a trout that's been caught and should have its neck broken. I'm just.
I
saying.
think that's what he was going for. He's from the Midwest.
Lafayette, Indiana. Lafayette, Indiana. Yes, yes. It's a special type of white trash. But
Okay,
yeah, right.
okay, hang on. A serious question, please, for 1 minute. Do you write the lyrics or the music first? Because again, your music is very diverse.
Ooh.
And your lyrics are very sometimes political, very weird, sarcastic, innuendos, double entendres. Are you saying what you mean? Are you saying the opposite of what you mean? Oh, I see between these lines, honey. But or is it always different? Like, oh, here's some lyrics, write some music, or here's some music, write some lyrics. Is there a method to your madness?
I used to write lyrics before the music, and now I write the music before the lyrics. I don't know how that change happens, but
Ooh.
it did. And now it's like my brain is like floating with like hooks that I think are hooks. And then I just write.
And you do phonetic kind of melodies, and then you kind of shape words around that, or do you just kind of?
Or I'll pick a subject that I want to talk about. So all of Portrait of a Lady is about, it's a concept record. It's like a rock opera about recovering from trauma. So that's how I wrote the stuff. But a lot of the music came before the words did. That was very difficult to write because I had to go back to a situation I didn't want to go back to draw the lyrics out. So that took a long time to do. But
okay, rock operas. I mean, the glam rock opera thing. What do you think of the prog rock
Excuse
opera?
me, 1 minute, Tim. Wait. Trauma.
What's the difference? Well, one looks better. One looks better.
Tie it up, Timmy, for 1 minute.
All right.
Trauma opera. Trauma
Nice,
operas.
nice.
Trauma opera.
Trauma opera.
I wrote a
Trauma
trauma
opera.
Have you ever been to the Metropolitan Opera? Have you been to a massive opera production before?
I should go.
You should.
How have I lived in New York for this
We got
long?
2 opera houses at the international level. You should go.
I should go.
But you got to pick which ones to go to because there's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot.
Which
of crap.
ones do you like? What should they?
Well, the ones I like are 20th Century and beyond.
The only opera I like is Joseph Cackler at this point.
No. You'll never see a Stockhausen one, but those are incredible. And,
Absolutely.
I would be into that, or I would be into Kurt Weill, but that's not real opera. I mean, they wouldn't do that at the Met, would they?
At the Met, I saw Schoenberg's Moses und Aaron, which is basically like a serialist opera, and you have a 250 person chorus singing serialist atonal music perfectly in tune. And even if it's like kind of a little too square, or not square, just a little too like academic sounding, it's still impressive as fuck to see that.
So what? Hang on, opera and country western. 2 genres you have not yet covered.
There we go. There we found 2.
There was a hybrid. There was a hybrid.
You know, I've considered myself a bit country, and I have done kind of country. That would be with Cypress Grove, but it's not true country. But there is a bit of country in it. Must say
there was Charles Warren.
Great. We'll have a listening session later, you and me.
Charles Warren, the serialist composer, did an opera, a serialist opera of Brokeback Mountain, and so that was kind of a country opera.
Sounds hideous.
Wow,
it was freaking hideous.
It was probably as unpopular as you can possibly imagine.
You know what?
The money behind
it. Like the cowboys singing their hearts out.
But yes,
wearing their chaps.
But atonal 12-tone music in cowboy suits, hugging each other.
Tim, I am about to portray.
It exists. It exists.
Excuse me.
I want a part in this opera. I want to stake in
Shilpa, you know what I think you should be a part of? What you should be a part of is me and reenacting the scenes that were not in Brokeback Mountain on Tim Dahl in about 5 fucking minutes.
What? What?
And he's only 10 feet away from me. He better watch his ass.
Is this a sequel?
Literally.
It's a sequel to Brokeback Mountain, the conversion therapy sequel. Is that what that's?
I will make you the gayest straight or the straightest gay man ever.
Whoa.
Oh man, the two of
Whoa.
you.
Oh my God. Anyhow,
We're
I mean,
fucking-
country
Wow.
or opera, or well, I mean, country opera versus country rap. I mean, country rap is a.
Hey, that's also hideous. I just saw Big Schmo yesterday on TV. Big fucking Schmo interrupting one of my shows. I don't want no Big Schmo on my freaking show. Bring me the Big Frida. That's what I'll go for. Just saying.
So
Yeah.
let's go back to this touring. So what's your next string of shows, and what does that look like? How many weeks? What's
We're doing. It's not that long. It's gonna be like about 10 days or so in the East Coast, and
Okay.
then after that, I believe I'm playing a couple solo shows, and then we have to look at the fall.
are these headliner shows? Or are you supporting?
They're support. They're mostly support. Yeah, and then
Different-
I love their shows come in the fall. It's been hard to schedule things.
Oh, no, it's insane, and anything that's like really long is dangerous. Actually, you were talking about Danita Sparks earlier, and she had contacted me this summer because she's like, Alanis Morissette wants L7 to open up, but it's just like for that kind of tour, you need to get a nightliner, and the nightliners are all out of either Nashville or Florida, and it's cash. It's like some mafia shit. You have to throw down the money in advance. If anyone gets sick, you lose a shitload of money immediately. So
Yeah.
just like committing to a big tour is still fucking difficult. It just is.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard.
Hey, you know
Like,
what? I can't even commit to a big tour because we get a couple of handfuls here and there. There ain't no big tour for us, motherfuckers. So we just do what we have to do.
Whoa.
We ain't
Yeah.
getting no nightliner. We got no nightliner.
Well,
We get the
yes.
minivan and the Airbnb. We do what we do. Shilpa Ray, we do what we do. And sometimes we do the solo shows. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have the band. And sometimes we just mix it up in the frickin' mix because we both are musical schizophrenics.
And you are.
This is the Lydia and
there
Spin
you go.
with Lydia
You
Lunch,
said it.
Tim Dahl,
You
and
said
Shilpa
it.
Ray.
Woo.
That was fun.